Hey everybody, it's Rob. I'm back. We're going to do another Hack the Box walkthrough. This time we're doing a machine called SAU, S-A-U. It is a Linux machine and it is rated as easy. Personally, again, I didn't think it was that easy. The initial foothold took a while and a couple of exploits to get onto the box. I thought the priv-esc section was pretty easy. So without further ado, you can see I am connected to Hack the Box's VPN. And I do have SAL spun up, and here's the IP address. So we ran an mmap scan, service version detection, T4 aggressive on the most common ports, and what came back was 2280, which is filtered in some fashion, so you can't get to it, and then 55555, which is an HTTP port that has some kind of server running on it. So the first thing we did was we went to the IP address on 555. And what comes up is this software called Request Baskets. Now, I didn't really know what this was, so I just kind of looked it up, and it's an open source service designed to collect and inspect HTTP requests via a RESTful API or web UI, useful for developers to document, mock, test, and integrate with APIs. Okay, that didn't really help me very much. But the next thing I did was I searched for, they are kind enough to give you the version down here. So I searched for request baskets exploit on version 1.2.1. And a couple of things came back, but this one was the most interesting. I think it was the top of the list as well. So essentially, this repository contains a proof of concept that covers CVE 2023-27163, which is a server-side request forgery vulnerability in request baskets in our particular version. And it could potentially allow attackers to access network resources and sensitive information by exploiting the API basket name component through a crafted API request. Now, the way this actually works is potentially what we're going to do is we're going to do we're going to call the CVE shell script. We're going to basically point to the request website on 5555. Now, the thought here is that potentially we can access the website that is filtered. If you remember, there's this filtered website on 80 that we can't get to. It just times out. So if we do a 127.0.0.1, potentially we should be able to click on the link, and the vulnerability, which essentially lets this software act as a proxy, should allow us to connect to the IP address. We'll see. So what we need to do is we need to download this software. So we're going to click on the shell script, or we're going to download it. Now, I've already downloaded it, so I'll probably have a copy there already. Let me see. Yes, I do. Okay. And if you look, the arguments are pretty straightforward. It's essentially exactly what the instructions tell you, which is if we go back and look at it, we're going to be essentially calling the script, pointing it towards the requests basket server, and then we're going to change this to the local host, which is the same machine on port 80, which we don't need to specify. That's the theory anyway. So now that we've downloaded this, I copied it into a CVE folder, as you can see. So I just grabbed it from my downloads folder, created a CVE 2023-27163 folder because I like to collect all these CVEs, as you can see. And I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open a terminal here in this, and I'm just going to type ls. Now, what we need to do is we need to call, you're going to need to chmod +x CVE 2023, etc. Okay. you're going to need to make sure that it is executable. So if we do lsail, you can see it's completely executable, this script. So now we're going to call the script, and here's what we're putting in there. We're putting in the request basket IP address with port, and then we're just going to actually go with HTTP 127.0.0.1. You can see I was experimenting a little bit there. So we're going to hit enter. Okay, and it says creating THF hat proxy basket created. So now essentially, if we click on this basket, it should take us to that website. So let's see what happens. We're going to copy the link, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to paste it and see what happens. And it actually does take us to the website. Now it is jacked up. There's nothing that I can really click on, so the style sheets are a mess. But I think the thing that we need is right here. This server is running Maltrail, whatever that is, V053. So, of course, next thing we did was we searched for an exploit, and there is a Maltrail V053 exploit. So like I said, it's 2 exploits just to get a foothold on this machine, which is, I didn't think it was that easy, like I said. So if we click on this code, so essentially the way this is going to work is this takes advantage of an OS command injection. This is kind of a kludgy script when you look at it. It's literally calling a Python OS command. So essentially what we need to do here is we need to, if we go back here, the instructions say we need to run Python 3 with the exploit, the listening server, which would be us, the listening port, which would be us, and then the HTTP example.com. So for us, that example.com, we want to run it against this, essentially this right here, because this is what, so if we copy this link, I'm going to actually save it because I need this to do the exploit. So it's actually going to be pointing to this, which is 127.0.0.1, which is the Maltrail server. So we have to reference it using this, okay? So what we need to do is we need to download the code. So we'll click download, and then we'll go to downloads, and there it is. And we're going to open a terminal here. And what we're going to do is I copied that URL that we need with the basket that points to 127.0.0.1 on the machine we're attacking, okay? And what we're going to do is type Python 3, and we're going to put our IP address with the listening port, and then I got to paste clipboard, that new one we just generated, which is this right here. The one that points to the local host that allowed us to see the Maltrail website on 80, which we couldn't see before because it was filtered, okay? So first thing we got to do is we got to start a listener, obviously. So we're going to do netcat nlvp on 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to come back here and we're going to hit enter and we're going to cross our fingers. See what happens. Okay, it's kind of hung, so that's a good sign usually. So we'll come back here and we do in fact have a shell. So if we type who am I, we are Puma. So I'm going to do bin bash I, okay? And we're going to go to cd home, and we're going to do an ls, and we're going to cd into Puma, and we're going to do an ls, and we're going to wait. And there's a user.txt. I'm not going to show the user.txt. It's obvious I have access to it. I will show the root.txt, and then I'll just blur it out when we get to that point. All right, so now we got to do the normal things that we always do when we get onto a Linux machine. So I typed history, if I could actually type it, and it's just my history, okay? And then we did sudo -l, and that's always the second thing I do. And then after this would be to check for the suid, doing a find, files with permission 4000, etc. So if we do sudo -l, we see this. Now this is big right here. So literally we have been on this machine for less than a minute, and I can already tell you how we're going to privesc. That's why I said the root privilege escalation is so much easier than the initial foothold. The initial foothold, it took us 2 exploits to get to this point, right? And within 30 seconds to a minute of being on the machine, I know what we're going to do. Okay. And I'm sure you do as well. So anytime you have a binary that you can use with no password, the first thing you need to do is go to GTFObins. And you can see I looked for systemctl. And essentially, you should be able, if you had unrestricted access to the binary, you could do this, sudo systemctl, and then just do !shell, which when you do it, it usually opens up a pager, because there's typically, you have to scroll line by line to get additional lines so that you can read it. The pagers in Unix are less, more, etc. I don't know. I think the default one is less, and I think it even says here the default pager is probably going to be less. So this will not work the way it is, though, because we do not have unrestricted access to that binary systemctl. We have a very specific case where we can actually use it. So really all you need to do here, it's super simple. You just need to type sudo, and you have to do this, because if you do it any other way, it's not going to work. We only have access to run this command with no password, okay? So actually, I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it, okay? We should be able to hit enter, and now we're in the pager, in case you didn't figure it out. This is the less pager, okay? So now we just do the second part of this, which is the exclamation point sh, okay? So if we go exclamation point sh, we have root. So now we do bin dash pack I, and we can see that we are root at sao or sao. I don't know how you say it. SAU, sao, whatever. So we'll go cd root, and then we'll do an ls, and then we'll do cat root.txt. There's the flag, and I'll make sure that gets blurred out. And that's how we exploited this box. Again, I don't think this box was easy. The initial foothold took a bit of work, okay? 2 exploits and a lot of messing around to try and get that to work. The privesc portion of this was a joke. It was, within 30 seconds, because I always go history, I always go sudo -l, -l, and then I always do find / files with permission 4000 to see if the suid is set on anything. And if I don't usually find anything like that with those commands, I'll start thinking about running something like linps. So like I said, simple privilege escalation, not so simple foothold. I hope this video was helpful. All the links will be in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, whatever, just leave them below, and I will be happy to engage with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.